Monica Medeiros, alderman at large, takes a unique approach to our government. So she says, through her experience as a local elected official and in the private sector, Monica brings a unique perspective to this race. Monica looks at government through a local lens and hasn't lost touch with the people she represents. She has served 3 terms as the alderman in Ward 2. I see her often on TV.
Yes.
And before that as a school committee member until topping the ticket in the alderman at large race in 2013 and again in 2015. Twice, that is. In addition to her arrayed experience in local government, through which she sees Medeiros, Monica has shown statewide leadership through her work with the Massachusetts Municipal Association, where she sits on the board of directors. In 2013, she was elected to be the District 5 rep of the Massachusetts Municipal Councilors Association to represent 13 cities, including Malden, Melrose, and Boston. In January 2017, she was elected president of the association, which represents aldermen and councillors across the entire state. Of course, we don't talk about aldermen anymore, I hope. Instead, we speak about city councillors.
Yes. Well, until the state accepts our charter change,
it
we're
will still be
technically
alderman. What a name. Monica brings an independent, creative approach to everything she does. She's a team player, but is not afraid to speak up and stand firm when it comes to doing what is right. Monica has worked most of her professional career in home financing and real estate, working directly with individuals seeking to purchase or refinance their homes. Financial experience. She knows the effects brought on by a challenged Massachusetts economy and is committed to finding ways to ensure a bright, competitive future for our state and by extension for our city, the city of Medeiros. Welcome to African Ascent.
Thank you.
Now, Monica, let's begin with this. How long have you lived in Medeiros? I now know that you're my neighbor because
Yes.
you live in the Horseman area
Yes.
on Damon Street? Or, no,
Bay State Road.
Bay State.
Yes.
Bay State Road.
Bay State
Incredible. So I must be driving by your house as I'm going to Ledge Street.
Yes.
Incredible. When I
Yeah.
come from the other end.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so how long have you lived in?
In Melrose all my life.
All
my life.
Which is how many years?
I'm 44.
Incredible. So you have lived in Melrose for 44 years, which means that you really know the city inside and out, including its trees, its pebbles, its stones. You might probably recognize them because you've seen them so often. So you're very familiar with the city.
Very familiar.
Incredible. Which is one of the main reasons why you want to be its mayor, correct?
Yes.
Now, take your time, Monica. I want you to make a compelling case of why you want to become a mayor.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today. And I'm very pleased about that. As you said, no, I've lived in Melrose my entire life. I love this city. I've been very involved in local government. I think I have, very strong qualifications and leadership skills. And I think right now, in anything that I've done, I try to see where can I be the most effective. And I think right now I'm needed in the mayor's office. I think we have a new opportunity here with an open seat. And I think we need, strong leadership to make Melrose a leader in things like financial management, in sustainability, in making an open government for all the people to be involved and in civic engagement. And I really am looking forward to the opportunity to do that, to be involved and to do my part to help this community that I've grown up in and that I really love.
Incredible. And of course, you must know your competitors, all those other four who are running for you.
Yes.
What do you like and what do you not like about their leadership qualities without naming them?
No,
Let's
I mean,
just speak abstractly.
they all, I've been able to work with each one of them, and I know that they all bring their own strengths to this
What are
race.
some of these strengths?
I think, I think there are some who are very compassionate. I think there are some who are very, the right word, very confident. And, I think sometimes can be very collaborative. So I think there's some benefits there. But obviously, I think I bring some different skills and making sure that really people are heard and that people are listened to. And I think that's something that, is needed in our government. And I feel like I'm the best candidate to be able to do that.
Are you also collaborative?
Yes. And I
Are
think,
you also compassionate?
yes.
In which case, then, it would be a repetition if all of you are similarly
I think,
compassionate, collaborative, team playing, and so on. How are you going to stand out and make a case for yourselves?
I think, and again, I can't necessarily speak for the others, but
It's
I think
quite all right.
my background in finance and in my commitment to the taxpayer is really something that makes me stand sort of apart from
Yeah, but there's
some of the
one
others.
particular candidate whose name I'll not give you, who has a very strong background in finance. How are you going to distinguish yourself from that candidate? Because that candidate too condemns that you have a strong background in finance. And you're also saying you have a strong background in finance. And occasionally when I see you participating in the local meetings on TV, you sometimes strike me as a number cruncher. Also, am I right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I know we have to make sure we're always looking at the numbers and making sure as a city that we're doing this. And I think that's something where, in some of the recent decisions and whether or not to move forward, for instance, with the override, where Melrose has not been doing any long-term financial planning. And, that's something that I'm committed to doing from day one, to putting in place a 5-year strategic financial plan for the city. And that means everything from, taking a look and a full audit of our current situation, our books, a forensic audit, but also of our policies and procedures, and making sure that we're really looking at our long-term obligations and have a plan to meet them. Making sure we're looking at our capital and the whole picture. And that's something that that's something where some of my other competitors haven't found that to be important in our decisions in the Board of Aldermen enough to change their minds about moving forward and asking the taxpayers for more than $5 million. So I think that's a different perspective, and that's something that's very important to me, to make sure that we're really respecting the taxpayers' dollars with each one of our decisions and making sure that we're on the right track moving forward.
Why would the override, which strikes me as an outsider to be something that is obviously useful, so contentious? Why was that? What was so contentious about that? Particularly if some of that money is going to be used, for example, to invest in schools, so that the school systems in Melrose which are not on the same par they are with Lexington, Winchester, Lincoln, certain parts of Waltham, so forth. The yardsticks of great achievements could be improved, so that the turnover of principals, teachers, and others at the schools would not be so often, because most of these principals and teachers are leaving because they are underpaid. And in the override, certain segments of it, correct, Monica, was a promise to use some of this money to improve the schools, which I think all parents, including those who do not have children right now, should celebrate, because at a certain point they were parents and they wanted their children to have good schools.
Of course
Couldn't they draw from that experience? Why was there so much anger on the part of seniors in particular?
Well, because money doesn't necessarily make a good school.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we look and we've seen so many, in particular with the principals, we've seen so many principals leaving and going. We don't know that that was necessarily all for money. And I think when you see so many top managers going, we have to look at the whole system and seeing if we have some other things going on.
Mm-hmm.
Money can be part of that program. But what was so contentious is because, between $500 and $1,000 for a household, that can mean a lot of money for a senior citizen.
Particularly if taxes go up.
Particularly if taxes go up.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's we have a big difference we have a big difference in our level of, I can't think of the word right now, our economy and our household income. Our average household income here in Melrose, for instance, is about, the most recent numbers I've seen show about $93,000.
Okay.
For instance, now if you look
that's
at
substantial.
That's substantial. It is for a household.
Yes.
But when you compare
for a household.
Okay. But compared
independent
to
of the number of the children within the family.
Right, independent of the number of people in a household.
Okay.
But when you look at that number for some place like Winchester, it's more about $150,000.
Correct.
Right, that's a very big
huge
difference.
Gap, a huge
right?
difference.
And it's a very big difference when you see, people who maybe bought their houses in the last 5 years, the home prices have just skyrocketed.
It's incredible. It's unbelievable.
So they need a lot more money to they need to have a lot more income in order to be able to purchase that house. Now, the people who've lived here for maybe longer than that, most of them can't afford to buy their own homes right now.
That's right.
Right? So there's a big income discrepancy. That's what the word I was looking for, income discrepancy. And I think that's, got highlighted and exacerbated during the override discussion.
I see.
So it's something that, we're going to need to be able to heal that wound and make sure that we don't exacerbate it moving forward, no matter what. And so to me, I think it's really important that we make sure, of the utmost importance, that we make sure long-term, before we ask people for more money, we make sure that we've really looked at the whole picture. And, if we have to come back again in 2 or 3 years to the same people who gave up their last bits of extra dollars in taxes,
I see.
It's going to be really hard. So I think we should have done more planning before we asked for this money.
I see. And now, Monica, housing is also a perennial issue.
Mm-hmm.
My water bills keep on going up,
Yes.
Monica. The sewage bill keeps on going up. Gas, electricity, everything is going up. And as you contend, the living wage, on the other hand, remains stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to address this? Because this is becoming one of the central causes that is pushing seniors to literally sell their homes and leave.
Yes.
From the beautiful Medeiros that they love, very much like I and you do.
Yeah.
This is a very serious matter.
Yes.
And how is the mayor going to address this? How are you going to address this? What concrete steps are you going to promise voters, particularly seniors?
Sure. I think there's multi levels here. I mean, you can't just wave a wand and fix it all, obviously.
Okay.
But some of the things that we can look at if we take things in pieces. So, for instance, part of that is housing. And we look at our zoning, and we can look at smart changes to see where we can create housing in smart growth areas, not in our single family home, wooded neighborhoods, but more closer to public transportation, where we can add some housing units, maybe in our downtown where we might be able to go up and add some more housing units. If we have more
The
units,
Wyoming area, East Wyoming,
it's
West
Wyoming. It
Wyoming, for
could be
example.
downtown even.
Yes.
We have
Even downtown,
even
you
downtown
think?
possibly
Uh-huh.
on some of the buildings that are
You
there
want to
have
blame
the
condominiums? Is that what you're planning to do on Main Street?
well, some of the building already. We've already made some zoning changes
Yes.
where they can have mixed use buildings and have some businesses on the first floor, and then above
How many
you can
floors
go.
above are you thinking?
We can't go any higher than four stories. I think
Four
that's a
stories.
reasonable
Okay,
amount.
that is
But
reasonable.
you
Yes.
yeah, I don't want to see us have skyscrapers.
That's what
Right?
yes.
So we have to still maintain the character of our community,
Yes.
but see it where we can add some more units here and there. Now, I think we should really look hard and long at what they call accessory dwellings or in-law apartments and allowing that, because I think there's so many people, especially seniors, who might want to bring their family to come and live with them, but still want their own space.
Okay.
Or people who are here who've moved into these homes and maybe they want to bring their parents to come live
You're
with
quite
them.
right.
And sometimes it could be it doesn't have to be mother and father.
Yeah, it could be
could be-
renters, could be students
could be
who live
renters, could be
in
students.
Boston.
Right.
And it could be some of my students at Berkeley College of
Yes.
Music, because Berkeley is so close to to Melrose. You're quite right.
So I
They
think-
could be encouraged through cheaper rents to move in with families that would help the elders
Right.
to pay their rent, to
Yes.
pay
And
their
that,
mortgage.
it helps.
They will also have a
helps
human
both.
company.
Right.
It's remarkable,
Both.
provided that we can guarantee that the roommates are going to be safe,
Right.
which is another issue.
Right. So I think that's something. And then, in terms of
Mhm.
water and sewer, it's
Yes.
its own almost, let's say, animal sometimes, but it's something that I've been very passionate about.
Mhm.
And I think there are some things that we can do in the system to try to reduce costs.
Are you going to help us to do that, Monica?
I'm going to
if you
try.
become a mayor, is my
Yes.
bill going to go down in about a year or two when you become a mayor?
I think we're going to try to make it so it doesn't go up so much.
Okay.
We still have a lot of moving factors that are involved in this. But some of the things that we can do is we have a lot of what's called on account. Well, first of all, I think the city should immediately adopt a conservation goal of reducing our water usage by 20% over the course of, say, 2 years. Because right now, all of our city buildings, the water usage in our city buildings and in our parks is all being paid for by the ratepayers. And so I think we should first be looking at our own buildings and making sure that we adopt low flow toilets and automatic shutoffs for when you wash your hands, and making sure that we have sensors on our parks that they're not, sprinklers aren't going off during a rainstorm and things like that. Some basic things like that. Now, we also have something that's called unaccounted for water. We have all of this leakage that's seeping into and out of our system, and we're paying for that one way or the other. So we really need an really aggressive program to repair some of the infrastructure that we have to finish those leaks. So we have a lot of money that's in reserves right now in the water and sewer account and enterprise funds. And basically, to me, that's kind of almost wasted money. We're taking it from you, but we're not doing anything with it. I think we need to put it to use in order to fix the system and fix these leaks. And then that should, again, help us to reduce our usage and what we're having to pay to the MWRA. I think we also need to, go out and I have an idea to encourage homeowners to do similar things, conservation on their own behalf. It's something that I've tried to promote as much as possible, because water is very precious. And, if we can conserve on our own level as a household, it's going to help the individual, but also it will help Melrose, because if we're using a little bit less, then we don't pay as much as a whole. So I'm suggesting a program where maybe we look at providing rebates through the city water or sewer funds, and then use the reserves as a rebate to the consumer as an incentive to get them to switch to a low flow toilet, or to a washing machine that uses less water. I mean, it's amazing some of the washing machines, how much less water that they can use. So I think there's some things we can do.
Now, Monica, I'm frustrated about downtown Medeiros, particularly YMCA area, because I work out at the Y.
Yeah.
Monica, every time I go to the Y, I find myself circling for 10, 15, 20 minutes looking for a parking space. Of course, I'm aware that there are underused parking spaces nearby. It could be Shaw's, it could be the space behind City Hall. But why should drivers be inconvenienced and unnecessarily allowed so much time hunting down for underused or undiscovered parking spaces when something very inventive could be done right next to the place to which a given customer goes to? In this instance, the Y. What could be done? Short of introducing signs that say, please go to Shaw's to park your car. There is a space there.
Yeah.
Particularly for seniors, handicapped, disabled ones, who just want to be right next to the Y. It's enough that the Y doesn't have any elevator inside. I'm speaking empirically. There are stairs to be climbed, and in addition to that, you will have to walk long distances. I know the health benefits for the very able, but it's inconvenient for those who can't. How are we going to address this?
Yeah.
It's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, and it's something that I think we're going to continue to struggle with. When we have had some zoning changes in terms of reducing the number of spots needed for required per unit, for instance, with development, I have opposed making that less and proposed amendments to increase the number of required parking spaces. So I think that's something that we need to look at for new development, making sure certainly that there is adequate parking spaces available.
Okay.
I think we've done somewhat of a better job of creating this merchant parking program downtown to make sure that the businesses are not using the spaces downtown.
I see.
But I think we could do a lot better with that. And we aren't offering those permits, for instance, online. And I'm not sure that we are sort of re-upping them in person. I think from when the treasurer had come to our Board of Aldermen meeting a month or so ago, indicated that they're not necessarily coming back into the office for the merchant parking permits in a repeat basis. So I think we're charging them again, but I don't necessarily know that they're coming into the office for the sticker. So I think we could maybe look at that program a little bit more and evaluate whether or not it's working the way that it's intended to work. I would like to see us really move a lot of the parking permit process online so that people don't necessarily have to come in during business hours in order to get their permit. I think that can be for businesses, maybe most of them are around and can come by, but many of them would rather be in their shop working rather than going to City Hall to get something done. I think that's one thing that we can do. We all need to look at alternative ways of transportation. Some of these shared I think we have to look at our streets and our sidewalks and make sure that, we have them that are in good condition to encourage people to walk. And just ask as courtesy, like if you have the ability to walk,
Yes.
To maybe think about walking or, I think it's something that we can work directly with the Y and some of the other businesses that have a lot of people coming to make sure that they have maps for their own members that say, these are some other lots that, would you please consider maybe parking there. So there's another lot they call the Livermore lot, which is just past I want to say Caruso's, but it's not Caruso's anymore, past Emerson Street.
Yes.
And there's some parking spaces there
Yes.
that are usually available during the day. If somebody...
How are we going to publicize this, though?
I think it's something we could do as an outreach campaign directly with the individual businesses. I think that's something that we could do more so that way.
So you think this is worth thinking about?
Oh, certainly it's worth thinking about. Yeah. Yeah.
And now, Monica, do you like developers?
Do I like developers?
Yes. Do you like them? Since you're in finance, you must like developers. You must like the idea of development, right? The types who come and just...
I like homeowners.
You prefer homeowners?
Yes.
I see. How are you going to engage developers who will be coming to Melrose? I think with a city plan of $5 million, I think, that the city would be benefiting from. How are you going to lead these developers to use their monies exactly where the money is needed, as opposed to where it is profitable for the developers to do? How are you going to deal with this very
I think
sensitive issue?
Yes. I mean, some things it's a matter of making sure that we have in place, clear and consistent zoning regulations. Okay. We also have to make sure that if any development comes in, that we're looking at the impact that it makes for whatever neighborhood it is.
How about if they threaten you with wanting to leave unless they're going to impose their visions of development on you as a mayor?
Well, I mean,
which some developers do.
I'm sure some of them do. I mean, I don't...
They want to come and build. It doesn't matter where. They might not want to build a new school, for example. They may want to build a commercial area so that they could make profit.
Right. So
what is the role of the mayor in this?
It's very important that we have a strong city planning department, which I believe we do, right? And that
do we have a strong city planning department?
I believe we do. I believe we do. Yes, and that's what's put us, where we are, and we've created a lot of new units of housing over the last few years, and I think that's good. At the same time, there are zoning regulations, which are laws that are on the books that any and all developers that come into the city have to abide by. Okay, there are some times where, because Melrose does not have 10% of its housing units designated as affordable, that a developer can come in and can appeal to the state through what's called the 40B law to supersede our local zoning.
Correct. That's what I'm thinking of.
Right. So if somebody decides to do that, it's very hard for a city or town to stop that. So what we can do as a community is try on our own to build more units and encourage more units of affordable housing.
So that it can control the...
so that they're not putting us hostage, for instance. On this. But it's tough. If something goes to 40B, it's very, very, very hard
to challenge
for
it. Exactly.
For anybody to stop it.
What are you working on right now?
What am I working? Well, so speaking of parking and transportation, I am working on an order that would license Lime bikes or other shared mobility vehicles. Okay. So, for instance, right now, Lime Bike or any company like that, if they want to come and do business in Melrose, there's no licensing guidelines, there's no ordinances, there's really no rules on the books on our ordinances. So I believe that they're using the public way, the public right of way, and that they should be licensed. So this is something that, I'm working on, that they should be somewhat limited in number, that they should have places where are designated where people know that they can, as a station area, where they know that they can find a bike if they want, right? So if you want to come...
I saw a few on Bay State Road, one or two, right on Lake Street. I saw
Yes.
it once, but then I did not see it again.
Not see it again. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, for instance, if you'd probably have to get to the Y first to get one the first time,
I see.
or maybe maybe there would be another business a little bit closer.
Mhm.
Say, I would like to see us designate an area around the Franklin School,
Mhm.
around and for instance, you could pick up a Lime bike there, take it to the Y. Hopefully, there would be a spot somewhere nearby where you could leave it or get another one and be able to take the Lime bike home still. You could leave it at your house on Ledge Street, but then if it stayed there for more than 3 days, the company would have to come and bring it back. So it wouldn't stay just as lying around for
Okay.
forever,
And Monica, I have a question concerning your vision, or rather your diagnosis of Medeiros. What do you think are some of the major problems in Medeiros that need to be attended to immediately and eventually?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know we've spoken a little bit about the budget, but again,
Mhm.
I think that, I want to see us have the strongest fiscal management. I want to be a leader in fiscal management here in Melrose. So we need a good strategic financial plan moving forward. We need to look at our capital plan and make sure that we're looking at it. We have, for instance, we have some equipment that we're going to need. We need new fire trucks. We need to have a plan in order to be able to purchase them and maintain them moving forward. We need some work in our public safety buildings. In particular, the downtown fire station needs some real work. There's some issues in there that really do need to be addressed. And I would say we need to get on a plan to fix that, rather quickly. We need to make sure that we're looking at our obligations. There's something called OPEB. It's other post-employment benefits. And that basically means health insurance for retirees. And if you look at how many of our employees receive or are active participants in our health insurance plan, more than half of them are actually retired. So it's an incredible financial cost to keep this going. We need to make sure that we're able to fund that moving forward. So we need to have that, first and foremost on the horizon. We need to work with the schools. We need to do whatever we can to make sure that we're excelling in education, that we're teaching creativity and problem solving skills. Because if we teach the kids those school skills, they can do anything in the world. So I think we need to make sure that we're focused on that. And in particular, I really think we need to work on community engagement in the decision-making process. And I think that's something that has been a little bit lacking and we could do better. I'd like to see us create a civic engagement committee of citizens to kind of look at the different areas in which people interact with government and making sure that we're doing it the best way we can and that it's accessible. But it also means that when we come up with different proposals and that we make sure we involve the public. I was a ward alderman. I think I'm the only candidate to have been a ward alderman. And it does mean that you take a local approach to government. You have things like neighborhood meetings. And we had a lot of construction in Ward 2 when I was the ward alderman because we had a lot of flooding issues. We had sewage backups. We had some really difficult things to work with. And the city made a major investment to the infrastructure there to improve flooding, to improve drainage, to mitigate flooding, and it involves major construction. And before we embarked on any of those projects, we had neighborhood meetings where we got people together to discuss what was going to happen before it happened, neighborhood meetings as it was in progress to discuss any kinds of problems that were coming up and really move it through the whole process. I think that's something that we need to think a lot more about. For instance, we recently changed the zoning to allow recreational marijuana. And the planning board presented their proposals for different neighborhoods that maybe it could be zoned in. But that's something I think, in retrospect, I think a better way to have done that would have been to have a community conversation first about, where people would like to see this zoned, and before before this is imposed on a particular neighborhood without them having any feedback. I think those are the kinds of conversations that we can have, that will improve the way we govern moving forward.
And now, ma'am, let me put you in a hot spot. Why is City Hall such a cold place?
Oh, I don't think it's all cold. I'm sorry if you feel it's a cold place.
Very cold, very unfriendly.
And I think, we used to have, with previous Mayor Guerrero, used to have and maybe even Mayor Dolan in his first time there, but certainly Mayor Guerrero had a city greeter. And maybe that's something that we should look back to having.
I think we should.
And that was someone's job to
I feel
greet people.
Each and every time I've entered City Hall, I feel unwelcome, particularly when I'm not wearing a suit. Why should I be wearing a suit? To legitimate myself as a human being.
No, you shouldn't.
When I should feel sufficiently free to walk in, even with a t-shirt, independent of who I am and what I do, by virtue of the fact that I'm a human being with a dignity.
Absolutely.
That must be respected. Shouldn't this tone be set at the City Hall?
Yes, absolutely. And
now, what are you going to do about that, Monica?
No,
the place is quite cold. I'm
Yeah.
reporting to you.
No, I imagine that I'm treated very differently when I walk into City Hall, unfortunately, than you are, because maybe they know me as an alderman, right? So I am glad that you have brought that to my attention. And I think that that's, something that, should I become mayor? I mean, we're a customer service business. My first job was in McDonald's, right? As a cashier. I dealt with a lot of people who wanted what they wanted quickly and fast and correctly. And if not, they would be angry, right? And it's something that I strive to provide people with good customer service. And so I think that means talking to the different departments and making sure that they're offering,
and
proper
also,
customer service.
Monica, what are you going to do in a larger sense to make Medeiros, which is considered to be one of the hottest cities in the country, to be sufficiently hot for people who look like me also? What are you going to do about that, Monica?
I think this could be part of the civic engagement committee that I mentioned earlier that I'd like to see put together, because I don't want to see people treated differently, certainly not because of their skin color or any other reason. But, this is something we have to look at and make sure that people are cognizant that maybe they're doing it. Maybe they don't know that they're doing it, and they need to have training. And, I think it would help us to have, to bring back the position of a greeter, so that there's somebody when you walk in, that welcomes you and helps direct you where you need to go. We have lots of people waiting for tax work-off programs, and that sounds like a great job.
Yeah.
And I invite your feedback in particular, as we move forward.
I hope so.
To see what we can do better.
All right. And now, let's talk about what is in the horizon for the city of Medeiros, in your judgment. What should we look forward to, we residents of Medeiros, that Monica is going to do for us?
I think Melrose has been a hot city. We've been a leader. I want to continue to make us a leader. I think we're going to see great schools with really smart kids who are bright, who are out there doing amazing creative things. I think we're going to look to be, I'm involved with the Mass Municipal Association. I see communities from all across the state. I see what they're doing in terms of their budgets and things like this. I'm committed in my first term to immediately go after and they have this this budget award. I can't think of the acronym, right? But to make it open. I mean, right now, if you wanted to find our city budget, I kind of almost challenge you to go find it, which is sad, but it's hard to find. I think some of the obvious things where it used to be easy to find, now it's kind of gotten hidden away. Making sure that that's open, that we are doing things like having a table of contents for the budget. You know, I mean, some of it's simple, but we haven't been doing it. So,
and of course, Monica, as a professor of philosophy at Berklee College of Music, one of the best colleges in the country.
Yes, it is.
I'm accustomed to dreaming for our students at Medeiros to be able to make it to Berkeley, to Harvard, to Stanford, to Princeton,
yes.
and not merely prepare them for vocational trainings. What do you think is what you as a mayor could do to help these schools to become competitive and good and produce valedictorians, for example? What concrete steps could be taken, do you think?
Well,
if you value this,
yes.
Perhaps you don't.
No, absolutely. Again, I think it's really making sure that we're focusing on those creativity and problem-solving skills. I thought it was really amazing, something that this school did recently, and they had a composer come in, and they worked all year on composing their own orchestral piece. You know, I mean, this is amazing. I think this is the kind of thing that we need to be doing more of. And that's the kind of thing that I'm going to encourage if I'm the mayor. I think we also have an opportunity with the BB school. Now, right now, there's no plan in place for what's going to happen to the school. I think we should look at the idea of maybe making this an innovation school for either math and science or for art and music, where people could choose to attend, for their students to attend, and maybe on a lottery system. I mean, I think we can think a little bit outside the box. We do have an opportunity with the school, that this building that, you know, it's going to need to be repopulated with children. And I don't know, it's something to think about.
And how about liquor stores, Monica?
Liquor stores.
Cinemas, theaters. Are you going to be in support of those? Are we going to see, if not the proliferation, at least the addition of one or two major liquor stores with hard liquor?
Yeah, that's honestly not high on my my priority list. I think it's part of what makes Melrose to be quite a very special place, is
to
that
accommodate the changing demography, Monica.
Yes, but for a long time we were a dry community, and obviously we've changed in many ways.
Yes, we have one liquor store at least. That's progress.
Oh yes, we have 3 licenses to sell beer and wine.
Okay.
And so right now, 2 of them are open.
Okay.
And there's a 3rd license that is not open right now. Okay. You know, it's something there where, you know, because we were dry and now we're not, I think we've been able to really, for us to control the kinds of businesses and the kinds of restaurants and the kinds of retail establishments that sell this, and to make sure it keeps with the character of Melrose. I personally, I've seen so many people struggle with addiction, and that's not an area where I seek to proliferate. I think we have a nice, charming downtown that's really the envy of so many people, even with the construction that's there, that will be over eventually. You know, I think it's important to make sure that we do grow, but with keeping with the character that we have downtown.
Okay. Stone's just closed, by the way.
Yes.
And it's going to be replaced by something called Public.
Yes, the Rising Eagle Public House.
Right. What is that,
So
Monica?
I was just there last night, as a matter of fact, for a Chamber of Commerce event at the upstairs, which is open as a function hall.
Okay.
They're hoping to be open downstairs.
To do what?
They're going to keep this model of being a public house.
Okay.
This is supposed to be a Revolutionary War kind of themed American style public house. So they will have, you know, beer and wine. I don't know if they have enough space. off the top of my head for a full liquor license. I think they do,
Wow.
but they'll probably focus mostly on, pub beer.
That's wonderful.
With more of that kind of pub style food, they're looking at they know they can't be completely farm to table, but they're looking at, as much as possible, having sort of a seasonal menu that they bring that changes in with whatever's kind of local and in season. So last night they had, as a sampling, there were, grass-fed beef burgers from Vermont,
When are they opening, Monica? Are they opening soon?
They're trying for August.
Wow, very soon.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen to Papagino?
Yes.
That too closed, Monica.
Yes, that too closed.
Yes.
And my understanding is that there is someone who is already either purchased the building or certainly, I think he has purchased the building and is planning to do a real kind of sit-down restaurant, probably with the liquor license. I would imagine a full liquor license in that space.
Wow.
It is big enough that it could.
Okay. And what kind of food do you like, Monica?
I like pretty much all kinds of food.
Do you have any favorite restaurants in Medeiros? Which restaurants do you go to when you feel like having a family out?
Oh, I like all of them. I miss Stearns and Hill, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed that. But I love all of them. Giacomo's is great. Turner's, I like to go to the Raw Bar there. Mexico Lindo is always fun. They're all good. You could get, I prefer takeout from Liberty Bell rather than eat in, but good takeout from Liberty Bell is awesome.
And where do you vacation, Monica? Do you like vacations?
I like vacations. I love to travel. Don't get to do it as often as I would like because, unfortunately, it's part of this life. A lot of my time my vacation time even has been spent working with the Mass Municipal Association. So I don't get away as often as possible. It's very
hardworking. I know.
But I love the beach. I love Europe and city vacations and seeing old stuff, seeing, getaways.
Okay. Well, Monica, this was an absolute pleasure. And before I get off, the set, I want to thank Patrick Doyle, Michael, and Mark for making African Ascent the stellar television program that it aspires to be. I most particularly want to thank all three for making this historic interview available to the public and done with standards of excellence. Thank you very much. And now, before I get off the set, I want to give you the remainder of the time to make a case for yourself. Why do you want to be a mayor?
Thank you. And thank you again for doing this and holding this. Again, I love Melrose. I've grown up here, lived here my whole life. I want to do what I can to give back. I feel I have the most well-rounded experience between my time as an alderman at large, an alderman in the ward, a school committee member, and for my involvement, I'm also president of the Mass Municipal Councilors Association, and I serve on the Governor's Advisory Commission to local government. I've had the opportunity to work with city municipal leaders from all across the state, mayors and town managers, and I want to be able to bring that knowledge to Melrose and make Melrose a leader in financial management, in education, in sustainability, and in community engagement. And so that's what I really seek to do. If anybody wants to learn more, you can visit my website, which is www.votemonica.com. I'm on Twitter at VoteMonica and on Facebook. I think it's at VoteMonica1 or Monica Medeiros from Melrose. And I am, again, so happy that you have conducted these interviews and given the public the opportunity to meet us and see us.
You're most welcome. This has been your host, Theodoros Kiros, for African Ascent.